product provided by Nintendo. A few weeks back, the latest entry of the Mario Tennis series hit the Nintendo Switch 2, the first new entry in the series in 8 years since Mario Tennis Aces. To some, this was just another random Mario spin-off, and quickly overlooked. But to others, this has become the highlight of the new console. So, how good is Mario Tennis Fever? Between the usual tournament and online modes, there are plenty of minigames, the lengthy trial towers, and even an adventure mode, all in addition to 38 playable characters, 14 courts, and 30 hectic Fever rackets. Does it reach new highs for the series, and Mario spin-offs in general? Or is it just a small party game and not worth stepping into the court? Let's answer all of this and more in this in-depth review of Mario Tennis Fever. While you watch this review, keep an eye on the Starbit counter down in the corner, because it'll tie into the final review score. Mario Tennis Fever boasts the most ever playable characters in the entire series with 38 in total. Bringing back the entire roster of Mario Tennis Aces, including all of its years of free update characters, is a great start. Surprisingly, I'm pretty sure this is actually the first Mario Tennis game to bring back the entire roster of the previous entry, and then simply build upon it. The additional newcomers are also fun additions, although I have to admit, I don't really care much for the amount of babies added to the roster. But they're not a negative. It's not like their character slots would have gone to someone else if they didn't choose to add them. They're here as part of the adventure mode, and it would have been weird not to make them playable in the rest of the game. So again, they're not a negative. I'm just personally very indifferent to them. Baby Waluigi's debut is funny at the very least. While this is the largest roster we've ever had in a Mario Tennis game, it's also easily the strongest lineup we've ever had. There's a great variety of Mario characters here right out of the box, without the need for free updates to add them all in. Sure, they're not all available right from the get-go, but having unlockables to work towards is exciting, and a great way to keep players engaged with the extensive amount of content in the game, even if most are tied to milestones for the amount of tennis matches played. But it was genuinely fun to play enough of the game to unlock every character, alternate costume, racket, court, and more. Especially considering the last game didn't really have any unlockables, but only characters made available over time through free updates. This was a refreshing change of pace, and an exciting one at that. Speaking of excitement, ever since the game was first revealed back in September, I was eager to try out the new Fever rackets. This is the brand new mechanic introduced in Fever, replacing the special shots, zone shots, and zone speed from Aces. These rackets are the true bringer of chaos this time around, taking the already robust tennis gameplay and turning the intensity up to maximum. Rather than character-specific special shots, now we get to mix and match various character stats and abilities with 30 different rackets, each with their own special Fever shot. Do you go for the rackets that lay traps on your opponent's court, like the Mud or Amp rackets? You then run the risk of those traps landing on your court if your opponent counters, making volleys like these get pretty stressful. Do you instead go for rackets that power you up, like the Ghost racket turning you invisible, Swerve racket adding crazy amount of curve to your shots, or the Golden Dash racket making your lunges reach anywhere on the court? Then, you'd better make sure to make the most of your powered up state before the ability runs out. The Fever rackets are such a fun mechanic to play around with. Trying out every racket and learning how to play against them has led to the most fun I've had in a Mario Tennis game in longer than I can remember. There is a lot of strategy that goes into choosing your combination of character and racket, and so much of it is about the mind games and understanding your opponent, both the skills they have as their specific character and the racket they chose, so you can figure out how to best counter it. Someone may have a phenomenal understanding of the core tennis mechanics, but if they can't react to the constantly changing environment brought about by the Fever rackets, they may still struggle to win the game. A player may be able to find the perfect racket to complement their playstyle, and that combination may cause a lot of chaos on the court, turning the game in their favor. Personally, of course, I main Luma, specifically in the Luma skin, and I've grown rather attached to the Ice Flower racket since I first unlocked it through the adventure mode. As a Luma player, my shots are more powerful if they're hit right after the ball is bounced. And when powered up by the Ice racket, every shot fires off a series of ice balls onto my opponent's court, If I can position and aim properly, this gives my opponent a much harder time chasing down the ball, as they may get frozen in place while charging up, leaving me to score a point. When I struggle with Luma and the Ice Racket, my second go-to, as has always been the case in recent Mario Tennis games, is Rosalina. Rather than defaulting to any of the meta picks though, I like to pair Rosalina's better reach and curve shots with the question block racket, making every fever shot a completely random one. I've gotten pretty good at adapting fairly quickly, but can I say the same about all of my opponents? I don't know. But the extra chaos it adds makes every game, and honestly, every time the fever gauge is filled, immensely exciting. And when playing online, whether in a lobby with friends or with random players in ranked matches, these games of tennis get intense. Far more than I ever experienced in Mario Tennis Aces. I was pleasantly surprised by how quick and seamless the online matchmaking is this time around, too. The whole process is much faster, and since the ranked gameplay is no longer tied to a tournament-based system, matches start up very smoothly now. Sure, sometimes I'll get paired against someone vastly higher ranked than me, but that just gives me the chance to see how well I can hold my own against a potentially higher skilled player. I do wish the ranked matches were more than just the 7-point tiebreaker games though. I get it, those are very quick and easy to keep people moving to the games that way. But given that these are ranked matches, I would have liked some weightier, medium-length matches in the mix. The lobby system is pretty robust too, with a lot of settings to change. I'm glad we have the option to play the chaotic special matches online with friends too, or open the lobbies up entirely to random players by making it public. There's even the ability to host matches for other players, so you can spectate, which is the perfect way to run a tournament in this game. That's an idea to come back to in the future. Anyway, I've been glazing the online experience, but there's actually one aspect about it that baffles me. You can't queue up for ranked doubles alongside a friend. Instead, you can only queue up solo, and you'll have a random player as your teammate. This is very, very strange to me, as I know plenty of people who would love to pair up, sit in a call or even in game chat together, and take on the worldwide rankings as a team. With how much this game polished up the player experience for online play, and has various ways to play online, both casually and ranked, I'm really surprised this isn't an option here. And it's the main reason why I haven't really touched ranked doubles too much. If I can't pair up alongside a friend online to do it, at least let me pair up with my husband playing on the same system. Still no? Yeah, that's disappointing, since doubles gameplay is so good. Speaking of disappointing, I think now is a good time to address the elephant Mario in the room, the adventure mode. This mode sees Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, and Peach all turned into babies, and the only way to turn back to normal is to relearn their tennis skills and take on the monsters that cursed them. It's a silly premise, and the most interesting part of it are the few fully animated cutscenes, which are beautifully animated and look really great, the same of which can be said for the intro cutscene of the title screen. Easily some of the best pre-rendered cutscenes we've seen in the Mario cast. But that being said, the animation is the only interesting part of the premise. Most cutscenes are still back and forth dialogue, or still image renders with text placed over them. Still, it's funny that Camelot rendered Daisy on her deathbed, and Wario and Waluigi hitting their official render poses as they scheme. But it would have been nice to see these as animated as the other pre-rendered cutscenes. As for the adventure mode itself though, it's underwhelming as a whole. The boss battles and puzzles in the later half of the mode are alright, but this adventure mode is primarily an in-depth tutorial of the gameplay mechanics. It's also only 3 to 4 hours long, so it's not that bad. The mechanical presentation with leveling up stats and earning new rackets gives the impression that it would be a much longer campaign. But again, the premise of the entire adventure mode is learn to play tennis. So it certainly delivers exactly what it promises. But that's about it. While it has the makings to tell something bigger and more exciting, it unfortunately plays everything far too safe. Baby Wario and Baby Waluigi also just disappear entirely from the story near the end. The result is an adventure mode that leaves a lot to be desired, and despite being pretty short, is incredibly formulaic to the point of somehow still feeling like it drags on longer than it should. The minigames in the Tennis Academy are at least kinda fun, and I do like that you can go back and play harder versions of them if you so desire. The problem is, there's almost no incentive at all to even do so. You might level up Baby Mario and learn some skill points towards his stats for more of the adventure mode, but these barely feel like they even serve a purpose beyond attempting to scratch that RPG itch for EXP and stats. Also, I think it's very, very funny that there were 3 files for the mode. I don't see any replay value in it personally, so it feels pretty silly to have multiple save files. I think it's important to note though, I did not have many expectations for the adventure mode. The advertising and the premise being learn to play tennis, it always felt like it was going to be a glorified tutorial. To my understanding, a lot of the internet outrage over the adventure mode is compared to the GBA game Mario Tennis Power Tour, which is a great game. But there's an important distinction to be made here. Power Tour is a game primarily designed to be a single-player game, a tennis RPG in that game's case, with the ability for multiplayer offered through GBA link cables. Whereas here with Fever, this is a multiplayer party sports game with online play, with enough content to add in some single-player content as well. The entire presentation between both games down to their core genre are different. While it's nice to be nostalgic, I don't believe the existence of Power Tour should dictate the expectations for Fever. If you really need to find a point of comparison for Fever's adventure mode, the only one should be Aces. Fever is the direct sequel to Aces. The focus should be placed more squarely on how this game stands after that one, rather than an entry from over 20 years ago that, as of this video, is not currently easily accessible on modern platforms. However, I don't believe the adventure mode should be compared to the other ones, and instead, we should be focusing on the quality of what is and isn't here, what the adventure mode does right, and what it fails in. No, I would not say the adventure mode in Fever is particularly good in the content it offers. It is a glorified tutorial that only scratches the surface of being interesting with its premise and presentation. But it's short, so it doesn't take long to play through to unlock the content for the rest of the game. And again, the minigames it has are kinda fun. All of this being said, if we need to make a comparison, I can say I enjoyed this adventure mode better than the one from Mario Tennis Aces. And I appreciate that Camelot tried to have one at all. However, slight tangent aside, adventure mode is not the only single-player offering here in Fever. Despite this game primarily being a multiplayer experience, it does have an expansive amount of single-player content. The special matches, score attacks, and trial towers are the real bulk of the entertaining single-player content besides the standard tennis modes. Special matches and the score attacks rival the various minigames and gimmick courts of Mario Power Tennis. And the special matches can even be played in multiplayer in an online lobby. And if you want to unlock everything in the game, you'll have to play all of these modes. Thankfully, not once did this feel like a chore to me, though it was a little bit of a challenge to get some of the S ranks. Playing through these modes was a lot more fun than I expected. Each one also serves to help you refine certain skills that can then be applied to your main tennis gameplay. If anything, I wish these minigames were a little longer. Little else, however, can compare to the trial towers when it comes to single-player content. These are essentially a mission mode, or like the event matches in the Super Smash Bros. Games. These are great at getting players to familiarize with different characters and rackets. There are 3 towers in total, each with 10 missions. So 30 missions is already a solid amount for a mode that was a joy to work through. But after you clear the 3rd tower, well, congratulations, you just unlocked all trials, which is 100 of these challenges, each with the ability to be cleared with a 3-star ranking by meeting specific requirements. This is a hefty amount of single-player content, and best of all, regardless of what you think of the adventure mode, these trials are fun. As of writing this review, I've only cleared a quarter of them, but I'm having a blast coming back to the game regularly to take on more trials, a small handful at a time, in between some ranked gameplay. Another aspect of the gameplay I've yet to touch on are the courts. There were 14 courts to choose from, which is among the highest number in the series. Sure, most of them aren't completely uniquely themed, but mechanically, they're all different. The special ones each have dedicated special matches, and the rest focus on the court material type changing the bounce and speed of the ball. I'm not bothered at all that they don't have totally unique themes. While the set dressing would be nice, during games of tennis, it's hard to pay attention to the background details anyway. I actually love the court variety in this game. Since there were more than in the previous games, they add to the massive amount of variety behind every match in this game, especially paired with all the characters and racket options. Plus, if you factor in the various fever shot effects, such as mud, ice, spiny, and more, these chaotic events happening on the courts feel a lot like the hazards of older courts in the series. Speaking of older entries in the series, it's time we come back to one of the main questions. Is this the best game in the Mario Tennis series, reaching new highs for the series and Mario spin-offs as a whole? Personally, I really think so. There is a lot to do in this game, and even when I lose my ranked matches, I've been having a great time with the core gameplay. With previous entries, I would typically play the side content long enough to unlock everything, then solely focus on the multiplayer whenever I felt like it. The previous games might have had more replay value, and specifically the tournament mode thanks to the star characters, which are surprisingly missing from this game, but that's likely due to the Fever Rackets, so I can't say I particularly miss them. But here in Fever, save for the lackluster adventure mode, I've been thoroughly enjoying my time with the variety of modes offered here, and the amount of strategy going into every character and racket pick keeps each round a delight to dive into. Frankly, I've had a lot of trouble putting this game down, finding myself constantly wanting just one more game when playing online, or just one more mission when tackling the trials. With all of the content in this game, great quality visuals, and a rewarding gameplay loop that keeps bringing me back, Mario Tennis Fever is a fantastic game, and easily my new favorite in the series. While an underwhelming adventure mode and the inability to play ranked doubles online with friends does hurt this package, everything else here vastly surpasses the expectations I've placed in this series for over 15 years now. Ahoy everyone, if you watched all the way to the end, I just want to say thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let me know your thoughts on Mario Tennis Fever down in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think of the game and this review. But until next time, farewell everyone, and take care. Special thanks to my channel members at the Co-Star Luma tier: Kiss My Flapjack, Game Explained, Cerulean Pitblup, Swiftjar, Simpsons 703, and Thales Caesar.